Now, so we are recording. So I guess I'll go ahead and welcome everybody. My name is Chris Price. I'm the Academic Programs Manager for the SUNY Center for Professional Development. This is a first in a series of 3 webinars that we'll be doing this semester, sponsored by the SUNY Faculty Development Community of Practice. We're kind of starting this series this year to see how it goes. Typically, we would have a face-to-face meeting in the fall. However, this year we've kind of moved our face-to-face meeting to 2 days, April 4th and 5th at SUNY New Paltz. And what I'm going to do right now is put in the chat, there's a call for proposals for that conference that you'll find in the chat. And we're looking for folks to present about faculty development things you're doing on your campus, but also about teaching and learning initiatives or ideas or innovations that you'd like to share with others. The audience for this meeting will be people who work in faculty development, but also faculty. So we hope that we get a lot of proposals. And if you have any questions about whether or not your proposal would be relevant for the meeting, please feel free to reach out. My email is chris.price@suny.edu. I'm putting that in the chat as well. So I don't want to take up too much of Laurie's time, so I'm going to turn it over to Laurie Fox from SUNY Geneseo, who's going to kick off our discussion today. And Laurie, before we get started, do we want people to just put all their comments and questions in the chat box, or do we also utilize the Q&A feature? What do you think? We didn't really come to
I actually created a Google document that I'm hoping we can start as a best practices document for this topic. So in about 2 slides, I will give everyone the link and we'll start working right in there.
Great. Okay. But if everybody else, if you don't want to put something in the Google Doc for whatever reason, if it's just a procedural question or something like that, feel free to use the chat. We'll just kind of leave the Q&A thing alone.
Yeah, the chat is floating on my window too, so that should work.
Okay, great.
Good for me. One thing, well, first of all, thank you, Chris. I'm pretty excited that I volunteered and then you put me first, so that's a little bit of pressure. You did not mention that this talk is facilitated by me. I do not pretend to be an expert or have all the answers. I do have a lot of good ideas. I have a lot of great stories of things we tried that don't work so good and some things that did work well. But I see myself kind of as the guide of us pulling together some things that are best practices of all of our attendees. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself here at Geneseo. I've actually been at the college for 23 years now. I've been on the educational technology side for just about the last 3 years. We partner with our library and our teaching and learning center and work closely with them in faculty development. We have instructional designers and of course all the technical support on our staff. And then the librarians, of course, are super talented heroes in the library. Also provide programming for faculty, and then it's all wrapped together with what we call the TLC as far as promoting things to faculty. I wanted to talk just a little bit about Zoom meeting etiquette. I spend a lot of time in my day-to-day work doing Zoom meetings, and I wanted to just let everyone know that you are actually muted now, but Chris and I do have the opportunity to unmute people. Typing, is a difficult sound on Zoom. You can use the chat feature if you'd like to share something or ask a question. And towards the end, we're going to have an opportunity, we're going to try, Chris, to have people share their screen. And if you are showing the camera, just remember that people can see everything you're doing. So I do want to make this an interactive webinar. And I created a Google Doc that, Chris, I will end up transferring ownership somewhere where we can store it permanently. But I made a tiny URL that is fdcop-innovate. And I'm going to switch us over to that screen real quick. And you'll see that I created just a simple Google Doc for us to collect things that hopefully we can turn into a best practices document. I think it's helpful if you're here and you put your name in there. It's a nice record of everybody being here.
Laurie,
And
can you
then,
just tell me what the 10 I'll put it in the chat so folks could
oh yeah,
click on
sure.
it. Yep.
Let me copy it over. Hold
Okay.
on. Whoop. There you go.
Thank you.
And I have some discussion prompts, although I'm always happy to talk about different things. And I think that I'm probably not going to switch back and forth between my PowerPoint presentation and the document because I kind of want to watch things as they come across. So the first question I have for everyone is kind of laying the groundwork. What are we talking about today? What are the what faculty and professional development services and programs are we promoting? Ooh, badging. Hey, Chris, what do you think about seeing if people can raise their hands and we will unmute them and let them talk?
Yeah, sure. So if you just go into the participant, I'm not sure exactly what it looks like for participants, but I assume if you just log in your name, there should be an option to raise your hand. So once you do that, I will give you the ability to talk.
Because Karen Gellies from Farmingdale, I would love to hear more about what the best teachers do.
Karen's not shy either. I know she'll speak up, right,
No,
Karen?
she should speak.
You know what? I'm just going to give Karen the permission to talk. We'll allow her. You're allowed to talk, Karen.
Well, while some other people are typing, I'll tell you a few things that we have been working on promoting here. Faculty development, like I said in my introduction, comes from a lot of different areas. So we have been working together to try to accommodate that timing and make sure that we're not overwhelming faculty with programming. So we've been doing a push for teaching online. So we've been offering some professional development around that. We've brought in some speakers. We had some colleagues from Brockport, for example, come talk to us about course content and compressing course content. Not to mention all of the technical training that we do. So I'm not sure who ZVP is, but I'm interested also in what their teaching online certification program is too. KL, are your on-demand or your online on-demand mini courses, are those are primarily for faculty, and so are you delivering them through your LMS for the badging? Using Moodle's badge capabilities. Is anyone else doing badging with your faculty? Could you raise your hand if you are, and I can just take a quick look to see how many people are? Delhi, oh, there are quite a few. We have, I see 3 people. There's got to be more. We have just started working on badging, but nothing yet with our faculty development. CVP, I like that you've been using the Oscar rubric and a stipend, although I saw something on Twitter last week that said if we incentivize faculty development, it does not fix anything about getting faculty to come or to see faculty development as important in their role. They just come for the incentivized piece and then go back to their day-to-day. That made me kind of sad. Oh, you're giving awards to your faculty. Well, somehow I wish Karen had a microphone. We'll have to fix that for the next one. I'm going to go on to question 2. And let's talk about communication methods and what works best on your campus. And again, I'll start with the Geneseo example. Email is our primary method of communicating with the faculty. We have been doing some postcards. We blanketed our faculty mailboxes with postcards, encouraging them to come meet with our instructional designer to get their courses ready for fall. We do use Twitter, and then we just started a new ed tech blog directly designed for teachers that I don't have any good statistics of if that's reaching them or not. I'm really unfortunately not convinced they are reading it. Oh, Buffalo State does Twitter and Facebook. Buffalo State, is your daily bulletin an email blast, or is that put out on social media? Campus email. So it looks like email is still the primary way. Hey, Karen has a mic now. So one of my issues with email is really, I think, the same that everyone has, and that is that everybody gets so much email that people tend not to read it. Is anyone using the SUNY, Chris, what's that thing called that we use now to communicate with each other that's like Facebook but not? I know it's run by Facebook.
Just unmuting myself. Yeah, that's workplace.
Workplace.
So that is an option for campuses to create, and I bet some campuses are already doing that. You could just create a campus secret group with just people in your campus, so that people from external to your campus couldn't join it. So.
Okay, so Karen, they're not grabbing onto workplace. I got to tell you, my colleagues in the IT department here are not grabbing onto Workplace, and I check it every day. Um, Chris, what do you see as far as engagement in SUNY of Workplace? Is it getting better?
Um, I don't know. I'd have to. My colleague Kelly Williamson would know better. But I think that I don't know the total number of users. Although I do know this, that we have almost about 450 people just in our faculty development community of practice group alone.
Mm-hmm.
We never even got close to 300 in the old Learning Commons. So
Right.
I do think we have to look at this as an incremental improvement on the old WordPress platform that we used to have, that we called the Learning Commons.
Right.
I do think that it is a challenge sometimes for people to go in and check it.
Yeah.
It does push to email, so I'm hopeful that it'll be a gradual kind of move over to that versus listservs. We've gotten some complaints at the CPD that we've been spamming people with all our events. So now we're actually moving to
Oh,
a weekly sort of one email a week on Wednesdays with an
right.
occasional single event email. So we'll see how that works. But we're
I
hoping to move
just
all the way over to Workplace. We wish that we could just
right.
move there.
The hard thing about the CPD emails, and I get them and I read them, but I do find that I get 2 or 3 copies because every list I'm on is sending an announcement. So is that what you're getting the complaints about? Is that it's
Right.
repeated over a couple of lists?
Well, more that we haven't really given complaints about Workplace. We make complaints about individual emails getting
Oh,
sent
that's
out.
what the
Right.
CPD emails. Yeah, somebody
Right.
else said they're
I
getting
mean,
multiple ones.
they should only go out to one. So, like, if you're in multiple lists, the
Right.
way we send them out, you should only get it on one list. So that's not the complaint we're getting. The complaint we're getting is that, there are just so many going out every
Oh,
day that it's just overwhelming people, or like the things they really are interested in are getting lost. And that's the complaint that I know that, faculty have for us on campuses, right? That,
right.
they feel like there's just so much, it's hard to keep straight of it all, keep everything straight.
Right. Is anyone engaging their faculty with a persistent chat program like Slack? We recently decided to purchase Slack to use on campus because we have a lot of cross-functional teams, and they were coming to us and asking if that was something, if we had an offer, something that they could use. So no Slack at Farmingdale. I will say that Slack in our IT department is very well used. The committees that I'm on, we use it during the life of the committee, but then it dies off. And some of the communities that I'm in external, like EDUCAUSE, for example, has some constituent groups, or I think they're calling them community groups now. I join every one of those that they advertise, and it's a ghost town in there. So maybe it's not there yet. Okay, let's talk about grabbing their attention. And this could be things from our postcards. I think were a great advertisement this summer because it was unexpected that they got actual paper in their mailbox from us. So we actually did get some positive feedback from the postcards, and they didn't cost us very much to produce. The email, I think many times they don't read it. We've been looking at how to format it. I think I'm always looking at how other people do their announcements, because so much, especially when you're sending to a listserv, we try to send them in plain text. So we don't use a lot of pictures. And sometimes that mail just gets lost. So does anyone have other successful attention grabbing ideas?
Abby, I'm allowing you to talk.
Excellent.
She raised her hand.
Good.
Unmute.
I can't get to my.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
You're there.
Okay.
Yes.
I can't type. Sorry, I sent a little message saying I'm running an event today, so I'm running back and forth to meetings that Chris is at. So thanks for your help, Chris. We do the guerrilla marketing as well. So I've been using the platform Canva that I really like for making posters. And I've been canvassing workrooms. I was going to go the postcard route next as well. And we try to have catchy titles, graphics, questions, things like that to get people engaged in the activities or to see what's coming up. If we can, we try to put multiple dates and denote that so they can, kind of put them in their calendar. And then personal emails as well. Reminding deans and reminding people that have been interested in the group in the past. So definitely relying on guerrilla marketing. And then we've been surveying this semester particularly how they found out. So we could see where they're checking, whether it be email, because we have a daily email, whether they found out from a poster, a colleague, an email, things like that. So we're trying to track that this semester.
Oh, those are excellent ideas. Someone wrote in the chat, they have faculty members co-host events and highlight their names in bold. So the more people you can involve as a co-host, the more buy-in, and then the hosts come back and they bring their friends along. Personal contact does work best. It really, really does. I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and I saw at a poster session that someone produced door hangers, which I did not think to grab a picture of to share with you today, but the door hangers were something that they used in the fall to let faculty know about new things. So they used the paper hanging on the door to catch faculty's attention. Can we allow John to talk, Chris?
I have to promote him to panelist because he's using an older version of Zoom. So, John, you are now a panelist.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. So, John, go ahead. Oh, well, John? All right, while we wait for John, one of the things that I've heard in terms of going out to faculty and trying to sort of involve them, many of you might know Todd Zakrashik. Todd is the person who oversees all the Lilly conferences. His idea that I've borrowed in the past is to go to departments and just ask for 5 minutes. Say, I'm going to do a 5-minute workshop. And you go and you give them maybe a selection of topics, and it could be something very simple like, I don't know, think, pair, share, or something like that you can do in 5 minutes, and then you put on a timer, and then when the timer goes off, even if they have more questions, say, oh, I don't want to take any more time. If you want to come to our center, or here's our events, here you go, and then you hand that out.
Okay, I'm looking on my phone for the picture of the door hangers because I know I took a picture, so I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. The door hangers were really nicely produced, and they wisely only had samples there. They did not have any for me to steal, so let me see if I can get this to my laptop. Yeah, personal contact. I also heard about something else at a recent conference where they did a speed dating event. That we did something similar at Doodle Days last year, where you have different experts, and they used faculty, and you go from table to table and just hear a few things about it from each person. So I thought that was pretty cool too. All right, I'm going to try to grab this. Offer food. Food does bring a lot of people in.
So, Laura, you mentioned before the trouble around incentives, and it was I think it was a pod. Was it a pod? A list on the pod on the message on the pod listserv that you're referencing. Oh, look at that.
Something.
So nice.
Yeah, there's the door hangers. So I'll leave that in this document. We can resize it or whatever, but I think that's a great campaign. Look how cool they are. Okay. So yes, I think that's what it was that talked about incentivizing isn't really addressing the issue, which is a lack of sustained commitment to development.
Mm-hmm.
Like it gets them in there for that one event.
I would second that, Abby from Delhi. I think, because we've been trying to offer food. It's always nice and the people appreciate it, and, goodies and giveaways, but the people that are coming are the ones that want to be there anyway. So it is nice icing on the cake, but I would probably agree with the incentivization of things that there's got to be a bigger calling, a more collective commitment. Chris and I were just talking about this. People checking in and rewarding and noticing that people are there. So that highlighting of who's presenting and that bringing a friend and making it the way that you do things on your campus is going to be the long-term sustainable option.
Sure.
And then, having those treats and stuff is an added bonus, but I think it's creating it as the culture of the way we do things.
Right. The thing that worked the best for me, getting people into our training workshops, for example, was switching them to a new LMS. And the summer that we converted to our new LMS, we had 6 workshops a week with 15 faculty each in them, which at about 350 faculty, the numbers were just amazing. So I thought, here we go. We got them in the first time. They see how excellent our workshops are. The next summer, I dialed it back. We only did 2 or 3 workshops a week, and I had 0 attendees. We did not sustain the attendance. So trying to figure out what they need at the right time, I think is so important to getting them involved.
Yeah, I think that whole idea of, meeting their needs according to where they're at in terms of the semester is really important, trying to have that just-in-time element to the work that we do. And I will say that, food can be an incentive, but I think, to me, I always tried to view food in a workshop as more just sort of taking care of those base needs so that, everybody likes a cup of coffee, right? So, it was a recent workshop that Alexis Clifton and I did in New York City, and we had started at 10, so we didn't have coffee, but when we showed up with no coffee, everyone was like, "Where's the coffee?" So now I vow I've never start a meeting without coffee, even if it starts at 10, right? So just those sort of things, I think, and where it crosses the line from just kind of taking care of people's needs, like, those basic needs, the hierarchy kind of idea, versus like when it becomes an incentive. I think for most faculty, it's really just, okay, it makes it easier, if I go to the workshop at noon and I know there's going to be soft drinks and I know there's going to be chips or something like that, then all I need to bring to work that day with me is a sandwich, or I just need to pick up one little thing and I have everything else I need. The brown bag discussions, having some, I know on campuses though that there are many campuses where it's really tough to find money to pay for food if you're not, allowed to use state funds for food for faculty, things like that. So it can be a real challenge. But, if you can lobby for money like non-state funds to just get a little bit, I think sometimes there's a little tipping point there. And it's, again, not so much an incentive. It's just, makes it a little bit more pleasurable to be there if you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Sure. Okay. Question 4 is my favorite question. What have you tried that surprised you, either for not working at all or for working better than you expected? Karen, I'm loving everything you talk about. You did a webinar in your pajamas? Oh, you paid for access to a webinar. Neat. Over 30 people. That's a lot. We tried to do some webinars during, it was during the January break, getting people ready for the spring semester. And we would host a webinar and people would show up in our training room. They were kind of confused. So webinars haven't really taken off too much here. And people frequently ask if we are going to record the webinar so they can watch it later. Didn't work. This will be good. SUNY Empire, I love your idea of consistent days and times for things. Oh, the chat widget. Oh, Marie, that's an interesting idea. I'm going to make a note of Marie's idea for later. That's really cool. I would be happy to talk to people in a chat widget. I think that that's kind of what I thought maybe Slack could be, but Slack would require that you ran another program, and people don't really like to do that.
Pod hosted a webinar last night on online faculty development. Now, not preparing faculty to teach online, but holding faculty development online.
Yes.
And someone mentioned, you're at that, the use of using bots. Using bots.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what you mean by like a chat widget, right? I mean.
Yeah. Well, no, but I would picture a real
live
person at the
right,
other end. Yeah. I mean, we've tried chat widgets. I think the library used them for a while. Yeah, they use them in the library.
Our library uses one as well. And we have one, you can even go to an exterior source to chat. I've used it for one of my courses as well. And sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't on Moodle. I'm wondering, I felt like it wasn't on Moodle, that was an exterior link that I had to make. So I'm curious now if we have that. It would be interesting, to see how people would engage with that if you left it open instead of, beyond office hours, you had that open as well.
Sure.
On the consistency note also, we're trying multiple things to have some things that are consistent and then also offer duplicates of the same thing at different times to see which ones are best attended. So trying to flex the schedule and offer 2 or 3 sessions of the same things to try to meet the needs of different schedules.
Mm-hmm. Our Chief Diversity Officer has been hosting deliberate dialogues this semester, and I was only able to attend one, and there were 4 of us on the faculty development side and 4 faculty. Hopefully her subsequent ones, which unfortunately have all been when I was out of town, were more attended. It's kind of awkward when you're in a workshop like that and your developers outnumber the people that you hope are going to come.
Though I've heard people say that, if there's just 1 or 2 people, even that, you can't get too discouraged, right? If someone shows up, that person will benefit. The other thing I was going to say too is that I saw something from Binghamton. I think that's Cherie, saying that she, they had some popular topics, and I think making sure that you're meeting, even if you say, I know one on disruptive students is always popular. Anything on, dealing with the disruptive students. I mean, that's, the most anxious, faculty get, having disruptive students. So having something like that every semester where it's going to get good turnout, I think is important. We kind of know what they need, and maybe they don't need another session in that topic, but just getting them in the door, then you can promote the other things, and I think is really important. So I'm glad she mentioned that.
That's nice. So did she have, Cherie, did you have people from your own campus running the workshop? Yep. Okay. That's a great idea too. All right, let's move on to question 5. And this is really about promoting our overall program or putting together a comprehensive program. I think it is really important to think about marketing our programs overall. Yeah, partner with other offices. Mm. We routinely meet, we call ourselves the I team, and I stands for like innovation and a couple of other things, but we routinely meet with my staff, the library, the TLC, one of our associate provosts for online programs and digital pedagogy. And we get together 2 or 3 times a semester to plan activities and discuss ways to promote it so we can promote for each other too. All right, I wasn't sure you were going with that, but I like what you're saying. They want to partner with you because they know you can reach faculty. I should have had a whole session, part of the session, where I talk about how we need to have a thick skin, right? It's easy to get disappointed when people don't come to your activities.
Yeah, I think what Shree's getting at there, and I don't want to jump ahead of her writing, but I think having a clear vision and mission for your center or for your program is crucial because
Mm-hmm.
you know if you are most teaching and learning centers or teaching and learning technology centers are hubs, and if you're viewed as just a sort of a mouthpiece or a vehicle to just sort of implement you know what folks in administration want to implement and reaching faculty, and that's you're seen as just a tool of them, you'll
Right.
lose credibility pretty quick with the faculty. So really kind of playing that, but you also want to be in touch with and support what the strategic priorities of the campus as well. So you're kind of sometimes being a rock and a hard place.
Right. Oh, Karen, you have money for food. Yeah.
And we were just down at a workshop at Farmingdale, and their catering was pretty good. So
Yeah, it's funny, Karen, that you said that about the space. When I took my position 3 years ago, one of the first things I did is I converted a computer lab into an active classroom with movable furniture and a lot of really neat gadgets for presenting and doing workshops. And whenever people want to do faculty development, I always offer our space because our offices are here and it gets people in our area. And when they come for the event, if they want to stop by and talk to us, then I know that they'll feel comfortable coming back again. And that has been good about getting people to come in. Yeah, space and goodies. Okay, so we have some time for show and tell. And Chris, I don't know how this will work with our Zoom setup, but check out what Sarah wrote from New Paltz. Did she write it in this section? Is this the one, the CVP? Is this Sarah? Oh, up above. This one?
She's not in the Google Talk. She's in the chat. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Oh.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Yep, that's
The
it.
Me Too conversations?
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to make this window a little bigger. Also talking about race. Oh, and farther up. There it is, talking about race. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm going to add new pulse. Oh, there we go. This is Sarah. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, thank you letters. Who writes thank you letters? What do you do with those? Also Sarah.
We used to do it for anybody that presented for us. We would send out not only letters to faculty documenting all the events they attended, but we would also send out separate letters to those who presented for us, thanking them for presenting.
I like to take our attendance list from any of our workshops, and I always find an excuse to follow up with them after. So, for example, a workshop that we had last week, someone at one of the presenters talked about VoiceThread. So I got some information about opportunities for VoiceThread, and I'm going to write to the attendees to thank them for coming and then offer them an additional something from our department to try to keep them engaged with us. Nice.
I think you could still talk, Abby, if you want to talk.
I know, I can. I feel bad. Everyone else is typing.
Anybody else can talk. I keep saying, if you want to talk, raise your hand. And
Yeah, I didn't realize that the typing in Google would be so slow. It's like I get so excited, but then it takes a while. Go ahead, Amy.
So we're big on thank yous, and I always have treats for any faculty that present, and they're working on, because we're like developing a logo and typesetting so that we can do thank yous, but also letting people's supervisors know that they attended it as well, kind of sending an updated list and say, oh, by the way, this person, so they don't necessarily have to take it upon themselves, but to let the people that they are working under for that they've attended this session. And I agree with the follow-ups and stuff too. Either there's a part 2 or an answer to a question or more information with a link to an article or something like that. Can be a conversation. Anything that gets you back in front of that audience or keeps that audience interested.
Yes. Okay, so does anyone have any websites or materials they would like to share? Actually, if you tossed things in the chat box, I could click on them and show them, and then we would not need to change presenters. Yes, canva.com. That's what you use for making the signs, right?
Yep. You can make signs, postcards, flyers. There's all kinds of neat, you probably could even figure out a way to do the door hanger thing. Or,
yeah,
I find it really easy to use, inexpensive, and flashy. Got some great graphics and things and templates and layouts.
Yep. Oh, I like it. They even have some email headers and.
So what do you get? Like, so I see it's like a freemium kind of a product. I mean,
Depending on the graphics that you choose, you can pick they're denoted, whether they're free or whatever. So the most thing that I would end up paying for is a picture that I really want. But you can also upload your own pictures. So really it's like you can play with the font, the size. You just find a layout that kind of speaks to your, the look or style that you're going for. And then you can change the graphics, text, and everything really easily. So I can whip out documents. And then, so like speaking of repeated time, so we have things we've instituted called open hall to try to get people out and about and see what others are doing. So the open hall template is already made, and all I do is change the colors, the graphics, and the information. And then there's like a replication or a comfort to it. So people see that, they're like, all right, here's the next open hall. What's the theme? Where are we going? So I like that as well. You can save your templates, so you have a whole file of past things you've made, and then you can replicate things that are similar or make updates. And those are the things that I do the guerrilla marketing with.
Okay, we're going to take a quick look at Binghamton's information about their teaching online certification program. Oh, nice. I really appreciate how formalized things like this are, because it really makes it look more official than, hey, come join us for this thing we tossed together. Yeah, this is interesting. Nice.
It's really important to sort of consider your audience. So when you're doing this sort of work, I mean, I doubt many of us started out in marketing and publicity. I mean, some of you have that, but I certainly did not come into my position with that skill set. And so it really is a skill set that, people obviously do for their jobs. And I think it's taken me a long time to try to figure out how to best market, to people, right? I mean, we were having this discussion the other day. There's a Fact 2 symposium on mixed reality, and I was talking with someone the other day about it. Like, how many people know what Fact 2 is? And that's what we're leading with, right? So a lot of us do, but your average faculty member probably has no idea what Fact 2 is, and there are probably some people here that don't know what that is. So you have to really carefully consider, how you're marketing and how you're describing whatever it is you're doing to the audience that you're trying to reach.
This is I have like a web page, and then that takes you to the Bronco Connect, which I was talking with Chris about earlier, is our platform to try to inform faculty and staff about signing up for stuff in a universal way. So we have a bunch of different working groups, and then we have things that change, and then we have things that stay and then add a different thing each month. So that's one of the web pages that I've been working on for ours.
Nice. Okay, is there anything else anyone wants to share?
I'd love to know what the hot topics they think are on their campuses.
Oh, that's a great question. I will add it. What are the hot topics? I think this is 7. Buffalo State, that makes people panic, doesn't it? They don't know where to put their stuff. E-portfolios, yeah. So Geneseo really has not been a huge player in the online teaching. And this winter, we're doing our first 3-week session during the winter break. So we've been doing a lot of development with improving online teaching. We've introduced the Oscar rubric to the campus. Then we're starting to look at badging, which is kind of scary.
I'm curious about the e-portfolios as well. I feel like I used it and have used it a long time ago in my education courses, and it's like old news, right? But yet I don't feel like I'm the Charles in charge enough to say, can't we transition to this for our faculty? It's so much easier. It's so much nicer to look at. So I've been looking at piloting 6 faculty through, but again, that fear of layering how many systems, how many platforms people have to upload to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that other people are struggling, or those topics are talking about that. So I'm struggling with that as well, and having the power to say, we really should transition to.
This is a real interesting list. It's all over the place, right? I mean, I think that's interesting. And I think Karen's comment at the bottom is really interesting, in that I think you do have to sort of be careful that you're still addressing core needs. Obviously, it matters what your mission of your center is. So if you're teaching and technology center, that might not be as appropriate.
Right.
But I think having just like the basic nuts and bolts of how to teach, you can't kind of get away from that. And that usually tends to be pretty popular, just how to engage students in discussion, that tends to be popular.
We tend to sneak those types of lessons into our online teaching workshops. Sometimes faculty come to learn more about online teaching to see if they're interested in it. But even if they're not, we find that it improves their teaching face-to-face and leveraging the LMS and other technologies. So we try to sneak in as much of that as we can.
Yeah, I'm seconding Karen and Chris's and thirding whatever, but yeah, it was amazing to me how little, we worked on some of those basic, running a classroom, getting participation, meeting the needs of students in general, besides just knowing your topic. So I think those are still key, and also we find those to be very popular, those aha moments and things like that. So.
I'll tell you what's not popular. When someone just gets up and talks like they're lecturing to their students for an hour, that's usually not popular.
I'd be happy to talk with you more, Karen, too, about some of those strategies and things that we've presented on and talked about, too. That would be fun to connect.
See, Karen, it's interesting. We've only had an instructional designer on our campus for about 2.5 years, and we've really had to advertise that instructional designers are for all courses, not just online. That's what our faculty thought, was that an instructional designer was only available to help with online teaching. New Paltz, tell us about your inclusive classrooms. Yeah. We always had the best faculty. Thank you, Karen. I get what you mean now. Yeah.
So is Sarah was writing, I assume that's Sarah at Newpaltz. I know that helping or working with students with disabilities is and accessibility and university design for learning, super important topic. But you know, those were some of the events that always got the least amount of faculty to
Right.
come. But I feel like regardless, you know, you need to just hold those because it's usually
Mm-hmm.
something that is just in time. You know, a faculty member doesn't think about it until she or he has a problem arise, and you know they're kind of left like, "Whoa, what do I do?" You know, so it would be great if they all kind of had like a universal design perspective going in, and you know, but you know, we know that that's just not always the case.
Sure. Well, Chris, we're just about out of time. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about at the end of our time together?
No, other than you know, hopefully everybody's in workplace. So I did post all the webinars in the series as events with the registration link. So just a little hint: the link will be the same for the next two. So if you didn't register and you just want to show up, you could use the same link. But it's nice if you register just so that you get the reminders and all that kind of stuff. The next one will be on the 13th of November from noon to 1. And that's on digital badges and other ways to document faculty development activities.
Mm-hmm.
So Robin Sullivan and I will talk about digital badges, but we're hoping for the other half of the hour that we engage with, you know, whoever shows up just like this. So you've modeled a really good model here, Laurie, of
Thank you.
pulling you all in to help out and give some ideas as well. So, you know, like I said, Rob and I will talk about badges, but we're hoping others come, and I've actually already asked Abby to come to talk about what she's doing at Delhi.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for sharing and participating. Chris, I'm going to work on this document a little bit next week and clean it up, and then we'll figure out where to store it. I think it's got a lot of great ideas in here.
It's going to workplace. That's where the
Oh,
recording,
that's where we'll
that's
put
where
it.
this
Okay.
recording is going to go. So we could actually either put it in the same post in workplace, or we could have separate posts or whatever. So thanks everybody for coming.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Laurie.